name is Philip Music, and today I'm going to give you a speech on some of the things I did well and some of the things I need to work on in my informative, demonstrative, and persuasive speeches. I'm also going to give you a little bit of insight into a biblical principle and why I believe that biblical principle to be important when it comes to public speaking, as well as covering how I may use what I've learned in this class and through biblical principles in my personal and professional life. So I believe that this is a good speech, and you should listen to it, because I feel that what I speak about can help others in their pitfalls of public speaking and provide them with some encouragement in their public speaking world. So just tell you about what I'm going to talk to you about, and I'll get right into the first thing I'm going to talk to you about, and that would be my informative speech. The good things that I did and some of the things I need to work on. So some of the things I did very well in my informative speech were I spoke clearly, I knew my information, and it was a subject that I thoroughly enjoyed. So I wasn't nervous about it, and I wasn't apprehensive. So some of the things that I did not do so well, some of the things I need to work on, are providing a thesis statement, one, providing my references, citing them in my speech, not just in my outline. Also, the attire I was wearing was not fitting. It was a military-oriented speech about what Chief Master Sergeant Roy had to say about bold new leadership in the Air Force, and I was wearing civilian clothes, which is not too bad of a thing, but my impromptu speech right before that, I was speaking about alcoholism, and I was in my uniform. So I could have swapped the two, and it probably would have worked out a little bit better. But that, and again, when I did cite my sources as Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force retired Roy, I wasn't very clear on it, and it came across as, if you were military, you would understand what I was speaking of, but if you were civilian, you wouldn't really get it. So I wasn't very clear and didn't point clearly in the right direction. So those are some of the things I did good and some of the things I need to work on in my informative speech. So then the next thing I have is my demonstrative speech. I picked a topic that I thoroughly enjoyed. I love snowboarding. That is my zen spot right next to church. Every time I'm on the mountain, I lose myself. I love it. Snowboarding is absolutely awesome. So anyway, the purpose of that speech was for me to demonstrate to you how to wax my snowboard for the purpose of snowboarding faster, gaining speed, building speed, and maintaining speed. Again, I spoke very well, I believe. I stumbled a little bit there in the middle of my speech because I did not rehearse it. I didn't rehearse my informative speech either. But during my demonstrative speech, I didn't rehearse it. Apparently my attire was fitting, and I felt it was too. I felt like my setting wasn't the greatest, but my apartment isn't the biggest, so I had to work with what I had. But I enjoyed giving that speech. Again, I didn't give my citations in the speech, and then I also I seemed a little nervous during my speech, which I really wasn't, but I guess I was, and it showed. Or I didn't feel like I was. And then I didn't cite, and I didn't rehearse it. So I'm seeing a pattern from the informative speech to the demonstrative speech. And then moving into my persuasive speech, I actually haven't gotten my critique back yet from my professor before I started doing this speech, so I'm going off what I thought I didn't do very well after I watched the recording of the speech. So I felt like I relied a little too heavily on my slides, on my PowerPoint presentation. Again, I was in military attire, and the setting was a conference room at work. It's the only place I could find that I could actually use my PowerPoint presentation and it be seen clearly. So forgive me for that. Again, I felt like I spoke very well, and I felt like I was confident in what it was I was speaking about, and the information was good. I felt like I provided good charts, good tables with information, numbers, showing the issue with alcoholism and how many people consume alcohol and the deaths related to alcohol and so on and so forth. And so I believe my information to be good. Again, I feel like I didn't give a thesis statement. I've done that on all of my previous speeches. Big one I need to work on. I didn't give a thesis statement. I didn't give citations. I put the citations in the PowerPoint, but I didn't speak them out. I think I gave one for Parkview Medical Center, or Parkview Chemical Dependency Unit, because I was there, and it was a quick, easy reference. It was already in my mind. And then attire, again, I was in military uniform. So those are some of the things that I did well, and some of the things that I need to work on in my persuasive speech. So those are the 3 speeches I wanted to talk to you about, as far as things I did well and things I didn't do well. And then now I want to speak to you about biblical principles. I chose the biblical reference in the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 30. And it reads, "And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner." And this was, David was being discouraged by his older brother, and so David turned his cheek, walked away, and kept on speaking, kept on sharing his message. And the reason I believe that to be important, the reason I believe that biblical principle to be important to me, is that in the world of public speaking, there's always going to be discouragement. There's always going to be people trying to discourage you. But if you have something to speak about that's near and dear to your heart, that's the right thing to do, and you have the Bible behind you and you have God behind you, and you feel like it's just the right thing to do, then you should follow through with it and you should go for it. People are going to disagree with you, people are going to agree with you, but you can't please everyone. So if you feel something that strongly in your heart and you feel that the Lord is behind you, go for it. That's the reason why I think it's important. And then, with all those things being said, how do I plan on incorporating all that in my personal and my professional life, what I've learned in class so far? And the way I'm going to do that is in briefings that I have to give to whomever, supervisors, commanders, whomever. I can improve my delivery, my clearness, my references, if I need to, and I can just deliver a confident speech so that I'm not doubted when I'm giving a speech to a supervisor or whomever it may be. And then also, I can implement that in job interviews. When I go to job interviews and I'm asked questions, I can answer the questions clearly, concisely, and I can be to the point. Also, if they want to know a little bit about me, I can give them my story, and I can, again, speak clearly, speak concisely, know what it is I'm talking about, don't stumble, show confidence, and be encouraged. And then also, from speaking in front of church members, in front of my singles group, in front of my men's group, I can speak confidently in front of them so that I can maybe encourage someone else to speak confidently, or just speak in general in front of the group and maybe share something that they've been holding back because they're discouraged to speak. And also I can apply that same thing to when I go to my meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can speak clearly, I can speak words of encouragement, I can be clear and concise, and I can keep that one new person who's discouraged from going back out there just by being able to speak and really touch that person and them hear something that they needed to hear to keep them from going back out there and picking up a drink. So those are some of the ways that I can use it in my personal and professional life, what I've learned in this class. And to wrap everything up, to bring everything to fruition, what I spoke to you about today were some of the pitfalls of my informative speech, my demonstrative speech, and my persuasive speech. Then I also spoke to you about a biblical principle which I chose from the Bible, being 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 30, why I thought that was important, and how I can incorporate what I've learned in this class, the biblical biblical principles, and how I can use everything to benefit me and help the next person if I need to, and to help myself along in my personal and professional life. Those are the things I spoke to you about today, and thank you for your time. My name is Philip Music.